JND student of class 10th. Today we are going to start our second poem from second unit of second chapter from your first flight book. My dear student, the name of the poem is A Tiger in the Zoo, written by Leslie Norris. In this poem, we will discuss about the behavior of a tiger, and now as you can see the lines highlighted there, that this poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Read the poem silently one and say which stanzas speak your tiger in the zoo and which ones speak about a tiger in the jungle. That means there is a the two types of aspects that is given. First aspect, that will be a tiger when it was kept inside a zoo, and the second one will be when a tiger kept inside a jungle, when a tiger be in a jungle. Okay, my dear students, so without making a delay, let's start learning the chapter. The first stanza of the poem is: he stacks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Now you can see the meaning of stacks is follows. Stack, meaning of stack is follows. Vivid means bright colored. Pads means the power of tigers, paws of tigers, and the rage means anger. Now my dear students, just have a look over it. Okay? Here the poet says that the tiger that is confined in the zoo moves around in the cage under his bright colored skin. He further says that the tiger can take only a few steps because the cage is small and it is not easy to move in it. One cannot hear his footstep because he has very soft feet, like velvet, because of which there is no sound of the tiger's footstep. The tiger tries to keep control his anger, be quietly walking in limited area of his cage. He is angry because he is not free. Now you can see that this one indicates that the tiger is kept into prison, that means inside the zoo. Now what the second stanza indicates: he should be lurking in shadows, sliding through long grasses near the water hole where plump deer passes. The meaning of lurking is to be hidden as to wait for your prey. Now here the poet says that if this tiger was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies, so that he could easily catch a deer in order to have it as its food. Basically the poet wants to say that the actual life of a tiger is to live in jungle where he could catch his prey and eat. Prey means the victim who is going to be who is going to be killed by the tiger, and eat. But the tiger in the cage cannot do so. Now my dear student, let's move on the next next stanza. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Edge, word means snarling means warning sounds. It's a warning sound, alerting sounds. Bearing means uncovered, and fang means sharp tooth of animals. It's a sharp tooth. Now the poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have snarled around the horses located at the outskirts of the forest. He would terrorize people with his sharp tooth and claws. This would create fear among the people living in the village. Okay, my dear students, just have attention over the poem. The second and third stanza is also written inside the forest. Now, what next? But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stacking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now, what the meaning of concrete? Concrete means a building made by bricks, cement, sand, and water. Now the poet comes to the reality that the tiger is inside the cage. He says that the tiger is confined in a strong cell which is made of strong building material. He further says that as the tiger is behind bars, so his ferociousness is always behind the bars. He just stacks in the cage. He never tries to terrorize the visitors because his power is restricted by the cage. Therefore, my dear students, he never tries to terrorize the visitors as he cannot attack them. That means he was continuously being uncomfortable, but he was unable to make an attack because he was just unconcerned with he was just being incapable in all that. Okay. Now in the last stanza of the poem, he hears the lost voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Patrolling means the person who is approaching for God. Now the poet says that in the night the tiger hears the sound of patrolling cars. Patrolling cars are the vehicles of police which are used to guard at night. So in the night the tiger hears the sound of these cars. He then stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes. The poet wants to say that the tiger is sad and he is confined in the cage, so he cannot do anything. Therefore, he stares at the stars in the night and tries to divert his thoughts towards them. Now, my dear students, just have a look on the literary device used in this poem from first to last stanza. In the first stanza, as you can see that the literary device that is used, first we will have discuss about the rhyming scheme. As you can see, the pronunciation of stripes is similar, not similar to any of the last word like cage, quiet and rage, but the pronunciation of cage is similar to the pronunciation of the fourth line, that is rage, and the C is the another difference. That's why the rhyming scheme will be ABCB, ABCB. Okay, now I am just writing this ABCB. That will be the rhyming scheme of this, right, my dear student? Now once again another the personification that you can see, he is used, his, he is tax, he is used for whom? For a tiger. That means the personification is used, right? Personification is used. Then after metaphor, that you can see that the tiger's paws are compared with velvet. That means it's a metaphor. Then after you can see enjambment. Enjambment, that means the sentence is continuing in the next line. As you can see, the first and the second line is used as an enjambment. Okay. Consonants, the uses of sound, stacks his stripes. You can see there is a consonants that is being means the repetition of the consonant sounds. Okay, my dear students. Now just let's move in the second stanza, the literary device. The rhyming scheme, if we will discuss about that, you can see the pass and grass both are similar, but the shadows and whole are the different. That means again the rhyming scheme will be ABCB. In the same line, enjambment, we can also see the second, third line is no punctuation marks. Alliteration, use of the sound P, that you can see the sound of P starts in the two different lines like plum. P at the start of the two words like plum pass, as you can see, plum pass. In the same line, two words has been started from the same consonant, that means that is the alliteration. Now jump in the third stanza, as you see that you can see the rhyming scheme in this same stanza is the first rhyming scheme. If we will discuss about the rhyming scheme will be again ABCB. And what about in enjambment, you can see again the line is continuous. What? The first and the second line has been continued without any punctuation marks. Then after onomatopoeia, you can see the sound that is given, the snarling. Snarling is a sound, that means onomatopoeia is also used here. And now the assonance, use of vowel sound O and I, should, around and house. That means if O and I is used again and again in the statements, use of vowel sounds is there, is a maximum. You can see O is used in sound, should, around, and bearing is also bearing, his, white, his. That means uses of vowels is continuously being done. That means it's a assonance. And then after in the next stanza, that is he hears the lost voice at night. My dear students, you can see again the rhyming scheme as A, B, C, B is the rhyming scheme, and last three lines means last two lines is again written without any punctuation marks, and that's why alliteration, use of sound h in the starting of the two words. You can see hears, he hears, it's an alliteration, and the last one assonance with his brilliant, that means I is being used again and again. So my dear students, I think that's clear to you, all the points is clear to you. And okay, my dear students, so I think all the points has been clear to you, and definitely you will be able to understand it. And further, after this explanation, if you are getting any problem, then definitely, my dear students, you are free to ask inside the class group. Don't feel hesitation, it's your right, definitely it's your right, and you are free to ask whenever you needed any, whenever you will face any confusion. Okay, my dear students, so I think we will have to leave now, and we will meet in the next video session with another chapters from your footprints. So if you don't have purchased the book, then just purchase it right now, because from tomorrow onwards you will have the footprints without feet lessons. Okay, my dear students, so my dear students, we will meet in the next video session. Up to the time, thank you, have a nice day.